I'm better than Hannah.
All right, thank you for listening. This was the You Talkin' podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Rachel, and this is the You Talkin' to Me podcast. And as you can tell by listening, or as you can tell by watching, Hannah is not here today, which is very sad, but I have a special guest right here, and this is Jack. Introduce yourself, Jack, to the audience.
I'm Jack. That's it, right? No other introduction necessary.
Well, I am dating Jack. If for
Yes.
people who have listened to the podcast, I talk about him fairly enough, infrequently. And he was on one of our lives that mysteriously disappeared.
Mysteriously. It wasn't a conspiracy to get rid of it.
Of course. It was very good. Anyway.
Just funny, the one I do goes away, disappears.
So today I just realized that we are reviewing, well, I knew we were reviewing this. Anyway, this is chaos. We're reviewing The Mask of Zorro. No, this is great. We're reviewing The Mask of Zorro, but I just realized that Hannah always does the recaps. And so I did not write one. Can you do it?
Sure. Let me see your notes. You have notes.
4 pages of notes.
I can skim.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, give me a timer. Let's do this. All right, so in California, we're pre-Civil War, so California has not joined the Union, pre-Gold Rush. Okay, Zorro is kind of this hero of the people fighting against the Spanish Dons, who are people from mainland Spain who run the country. Zorro is a folk legend. He's secretly like one of the Dons himself, so he's like Batman. He is defeated and the put in jail, and his daughter is kidnapped and his wife is killed. And his daughter is raised by his greatest enemy. Like 18 years pass, and his greatest enemy, comes back to California with a plot to take it over from the Mexican government using gold. And he brings the daughter, who's now an adult, obviously. And Zorro breaks out of jail and starts training a younger version, Antonio Banderas, the Puss in Boots, to become the new Zorro. And they fight against the Dons and for free California. That was pretty good. 1 minute.
It was like exactly 1 minute. It was like right on.
Better.
Beautiful. I will say, Hannah, you're very missed. But this was off the cuff, and you know what? You did a really good job because I learned some about the movie after already watching it, just by listening to your recap. As Jack said, the Puss in Boots is in this film. And he kind of goes through a little he's all that moment.
The glow up.
He's all that makeover moment. You know, the 2021 classic with Addison Rae.
That hurts my soul.
Anyway, the guy from Cobra Kai is in it, and that's how I convinced Jack to watch it.
He's all that. That I was betrayed. Aren't we talking about Zorro? Can we stick with Zorro?
Yes, but so new Zorro, who I just called Alejandro, which is his name in the show, and then Zorro's the other guy who I'd never learned the name of, the original Zorro, who is
Diego.
Anthony
Hopkins. Yeah, we got to talk about that. We'll get to that.
So Alejandro, the Puss in Boots, he is like at the beginning of the movie as a kid. And I remember vividly asking Jack, who are these kids? Like, do we even care about these kids? Like, why are they so important to the beginning of this movie? And he just, I know when he says nothing, that it's going to be something important. And so that came into play later.
Because of the time jump, right? 18 years passed, so the kid is now Antonio Banderas.
No, the kid was played by Antonio Banderas.
Oh, right. He was just walking on his knees the whole time. Yeah, correct.
But yeah, so at the very beginning, there's this huge like
action sequence
where Zorro does finally show up. Like, these kids are waiting for Zorro because like this big thing's gonna happen, like a bunch of chaos is happening basically, and the kids have like called for Zorro. Okay, and he does show up, And he basically like just puts on a little show. Like if you've ever seen the Savannah Bananas games, the first
really going obscure with this reference. Yes, the cultural touchstone that is the Savannah Bananas.
There's
game.
a first baseman coach who like dances but also is actually a coach, I guess, and does actually coach the people. So like the team is really good, but like it seems like the first baseman, if you're just watching it, the first base coach, it seems like they're making fun of the game of baseball because of like all these goofy antics that they have.
I didn't know where you were going with this analogy. It makes 10% sense now.
But Zorro, like when you're watching the movie, it's very much an action film, but it's also just like a goofy film. And it kind of seems like it's making fun of stuff while he's also being very good and like kicking serious butt.
Yeah, they have fun with it, right? Like it's goofy. You know, a lot of the action sequences have laughs built into them, you know.
Mm-hmm. Which I didn't expect going into it. I literally knew nothing about this going into it, except for that Antonio Banderas was in it.
Right.
That was it.
And crucially not Anthony Hopkins. Because the movie starts and Anthony Hopkins is very poorly playing a much younger man, right? It doesn't look good. He looks like he's in his 60s. And Rachel apparently doesn't know what Anthony Hopkins looks like, despite being, you know, two-time Oscar winner, really an actor of note that you should know. Rachel's like, is he going to look like that the whole movie? This is Antonio Banderas. And I'm just sitting there like, this.
I know, I go, okay, he's really in this movie. And then like years later in Shrek, like how? And you're like, just wait. Like he couldn't even just be silent and let me just wait and experience it because it was so ridiculous.
I mean, I just assumed that when he took, like, I can understand it to an extent when he took off the mask, like until he took off the mask, and we're like, okay, half his face is covered, like it's not fully on you, but you should still probably know what Anthony Hopkins looks like. And then he took off the mask, just nothing, no recognition from Rachel, just like, oh, I guess that's Antonio Banderas. It was surprising.
Okay, so if anyone remembers the very first episode that Hannah and I put out, one, if you don't go listen to it. I'll just recap it right now. We have seen no movie ever.
That is true. So I should have known better.
So I don't know what any pop culture person looks like.
I should have known better.
Yeah, even old-timey pop culture people.
We gotta watch some Anthony Hopkins movies at some point.
I watched one.
Which one?
Mask of Zorro.
Okay.
All right. So after the big action sequence, he like Zorro number one gives his little
Zorro Senior.
He gives this like
Zorro Junior.
And Zorro adjacent, but he dies. It's just
What?
the brother. They're all Zorro. None of them
Everyone
have names.
is Zorro to Rachel.
None of them have names except for Alejandro. I did remember that for a minute.
Who is Zorro Junior? For those of you following along at home.
I'm so sorry. Okay. For anyone who, for some reason, got to this point, thank you for still listening. But he gives them this like medallion, and they time jump 20 years basically after the whole kidnapping, you know, all that boring stuff, the kidnapping, the killing. Okay, that stuff's done. We see Alejandro and his brother, and we just assume it's them at this point because they don't like really tell us. They're like walking and they're prisoners and they're being like captured. They've been captured by this guy and they walk into this town. And you want to explain this part?
Yeah, I mean, they're bandits, right? They're outlaws they have wanted posters, and there's a third guy who has captured them. And as it turns out, he hasn't captured them. He's the third member of their crew, and they're faking being captured to get close enough to steal stuff from the town. Right? So it's like a bait and switch.
Yeah. And so they do escape very successfully for about 13 feet, and then
yeah, that's actually something I've wondered about the movie for a while, is that those other guys are just there in the direction that they happen to be fleeing after pulling off this heist. And like sometimes that's really bad luck for a bandit. It's the Old West. You could set off in any direction. It's not like they're following a road, and they chose the one direction that the bad guys were waiting in. That's, I don't know, maybe they're bad at being robbers.
Well, also, did they have their eyes closed the whole time?
Yeah,
because there were no mountains that they like had
a line of people that they like run into, and it's like, oh crap.
Yeah,
just go a different way.
So I don't exactly know how the other two escaped so well, but Zorro Jr.'s brother, Zorro Jason, gets shot basically right in front of him. He shoots himself before they can shoot him. So, like, noble sacrifice.
You can't fire me, I quit.
So now the brother is like angry, hates the world, goes off, and
runs into Anthony Hopkins, who recognizes the medal he gave him as a child.
Yeah, because Anthony Hopkins escapes from prison in a very interesting way, because the original Don guy comes back, right?
Yes.
And
the guy who put him in prison comes back and is looking for him.
Because he wants to like see how much he suffered, and like he gets off on it. It's kind of gross. He's like going through trying to like look at everybody to figure out which one is Zorro Sr., but they all like, none of them look him in the eye, which is like the way to tell them apart, right? Because Zorro Sr. has bright blue eyes because he's a white guy.
Because he's Anthony Hopkins. It's very distinctive.
Yeah, because he knows what Anthony Hopkins looks like.
Right. Unlike Rachel. He knows, he knows, like, I'm looking for Anthony Hopkins after, he goes into the prison with that.
Well, if you had told me that Anthony Hopkins has blue eyes,
then you would have known.
I don't know. He somehow like gets through, but how does he get the gunpowder though to shoot off his?
He kills the guard. He chokes a guard out that gets too close to his cage, and then he escapes. He pulls a Count of Monte Cristo, which
I've never seen.
It's a book, it is a movie, but the book, basically someone dies in the prison, and the way that he gets out is in the body bag, right? That you switch place with the dead prisoner, you go in with a knife, and then once you're buried, you cut your way out and you're free.
Yeah,
maybe that's a thing. Like, maybe I attribute it to the Count of Monte Cristo, but maybe that's just like how people break out of prison.
Well, I'll remember that when I go to prison.
Yeah, I was about to say, kill someone, multiple people, and then but the thing that throws me off is that Anthony Hopkins, in order to get out of prison, has to like unchain his feet, right? Like, that's the big thing. That his feet are chained up, and so he kills a guard and then switches place with a prisoner to take the body bag out. But if he kills the guard and has the keys to unlock his feet, you have keys at that point. You could just go to the door and get out. I've never thought of this until just now. He uses keys to unlock his feet, and then
he doesn't use keys to unlock his feet.
Oh, right.
He
uses gunpowder. You're right. Okay,
yeah, he burns them off.
I just went down a rabbit hole that I made up. Good job, Zorro. They thought of everything.
One, I'm realizing Hannah keeps this podcast together.
Just too much chaos.
Two, we're chaotic. I hope you enjoyed this. It's literally just, the title probably says it all. He gets out. He's on his way to kill the Dawn, basically, until he sees this woman.
This is Zorro Sr.
Yeah, after he escapes from prison. He's on his way to kill the Dawn, and then he sees this woman come up behind him, behind the Dawn, and one, she's of appropriate age to be his daughter, but also calls him like father or whatever, and that is what stops him, because he doesn't want to kill him in front of his daughter. And so he diverts, and that's where he runs into Antonio Banderas, Zorro Jr. And basically, like, they want to fight each other.
Yeah.
Because they're boys. So they're going to fight each other, and Zorro Sr. is like 85 years old, basically. And Antonio Banderas is like, I got this. No problem, absolutely can kick your butt. But because he is fighting out of anger, which is like a theme that I thought was going to be throughout this movie, because they set it up right there in the opening.
They set it up really well.
Thing.
Never attack in anger, never fight in anger. And Rachel kept being like, this is where it's gonna pay off. And it would have made sense. It doesn't. It just happens.
I was literally waiting for Zorro Jr. to like fail like the fight, right? Like, or even Zorro Sr. to fight in anger at the end when he finally like gets to like fight for his daughter, right? And none of it happens.
It just doesn't happen.
So anyway, the old man wins against younger Zorro, and he decides though that he's going to train him to be the next Zorro though anyway, because he like has some skills, I guess, even though he's just like some drunk bandit.
He has fire. He's passionate.
Okay.
I think that's it. And also, like, I don't know. I also think it's partially just boredom on the part of Zorro Sr. Like, hey, I've been in jail for 18 years. Like, I need someone around.
Well, and he needed somebody else to be able to get in there and
so that's probably
get on the
right.
inside.
Like, it helped him because later in the movie, Zorro Jr. poses as like a Don to get into a party and gets the two of them in because they don't know what he looks like. He's a nobody.
Yeah. So there's a lot of great things in this movie. Just that one thing of the never fight in anger never coming back. I would never get away with that if I was writing this script in film school.
No, you'd get yelled at.
They'd be like, why'd you even write that then if you're not gonna bring it back? There are 3 rules. There are 3 lessons. One was never attack in anger. Number 2 was just to come with me. And that's when he gets like makeover number 1 and just like
he gets several of his several makeovers. It's in stages.
Yeah, so it's really a movie for everybody. And then lesson number 3 was funny, and it was just get to lesson number 4, which we never get to, but it was just the fighting sequences. He really improves very quickly, so he must have had some talent, but he like learns things like that, which is good. I mean, it would have been boring if it took longer.
Yeah.
So,
but this is where this works as a movie. Like, if you did this as, I don't know, a TV show, as a mini series, right? Like, it would have been 2 episodes of just him learning how to do ropes and to sort of, and you don't need it. You need, with
like weird side things that are nonsense.
Like, what is it, 5 minutes in the movie, if that? They just go through it. Like, he's a young guy, he's learning how to fight. Cool, we're done.
Yeah, and it's very fun. It's very fun because you get to see just
they keep your interest through it, right? They break it up with jokes, with yeah.
So the first time that we really get to see Zorro out in the field is at the church.
Yes.
Right? Where he like breaks in.
He's going to steal a horse. Because he needs a horse.
Yeah.
So he's going to steal a horse, and he ends up in this huge fight with a ton of different people, and it's really funny. I mean, he's defeating people in all different ways. It's not like a sword fight. And then eventually Zorro ends up in a confessional hiding, and who walks in but the daughter of the Zorro Sr.
Yeah, and her name is Elena, which we haven't said yet.
Elena, and they have like love at first sight type thing.
Yeah. And so when she's confessing, she thinks it's a priest. She doesn't think it's him at this time, but she's like confessing to these impure thoughts that she's had about a man that she's not married to. And he's like, oh, and this man, does he have a very deep voice? And is he very handsome? And like baiting her, basically just being like, oh yeah, I am hot. That's awesome. She loves me. All right. Oh wait, shoot, I'm pretending to be a priest. Oh, and the people they're coming to attack because Elena comes out and the like guys that were after Zorro like have shown up, and they're like, what were you doing in there? And she's like confessing to the priest, and they're like, but the priest is literally right here. And so they open the thing. You think Zorro's caught, but he's not. He's escaped, of course, like he always does. And so he's kind of a man of mystery like that. So he's
Batman, right? Like,
which I've never seen.
Okay. that's the whole thing with Zorro, right? Is that he's Batman. That he was the first story was written in like 1917, something like that, the first Zorro story, and which was about 30 years before the first Batman story. And he is a masked vigilante who wears all black, who is
a
rich man who has a lair under his giant mansion. Behind a waterfall is the entrance to the lair. Like, all the little pieces of Batman are there.
Yeah, but Batman's white, so that's why it doesn't seem like it's stealing.
Yeah, I guess so. But Zorro was white in the original books. He was a Spaniard. He was Diego de la Vega.
He was still Spanish though.
Yeah, I guess he was some ethnicity. So he wasn't Bruce Wayne. Very, very. You're right. You couldn't mistake that for anything else.
Exactly. And so I think that's just really funny because I would never really think of that. Even after watching Zorro, like the comparison to Batman is like literally exactly the same.
Right.
Because he has no special superpowers. He just has what he has on his body, any weapon of his choice or whatever. And a deep voice. And he goes to the shadows and he disappears and you turn around and he's gone, and he he marks Z's and everything, and Batman marks little bats, and like, he has the bat call.
This is like a real, they based Batman off of Zorro, which sounds weird because if you think about like which one is culturally more significant, Batman by about 1 million times, but Zorro was first, and Zorro was what they went off of. The first book is it remains one of the highest selling novels of all time, right? Like it was like in 1917, it was the equivalent of like, Titanic, the movie, not the boat that sunk 5 years earlier. It was like a cultural phenomenon, right? Like everyone read Zorro.
Yeah. It was just as great as the Titanic sinking.
Just as great as the Titanic sinking, book being published. Really similar culture.
It brought the world back together.
And started Downton Abbey.
Exactly. So they're cultural. I've seen Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey takes place at such a time that the characters in Downton Abbey could have read Zorro. They should have added a scene just in the middle of their relationship drama. One of them being like, "What are you reading?" "Oh, the new Zorro book." Cool.
I mean, they're probably too sophisticated for that.
I don't know. Everyone read Zorro. That was the point.
Maybe it was like their secret, like, guilty pleasure that they were like reading.
That's what I'm gonna imagine next time I watch
Mary.
Downton Abbey, that she was sitting there reading.
That was
Zorro.
Mary's secret all along. Not that she had premarital sex.
And that a Turkish ambassador had died while having sex with her.
Yeah. No, it was that she was reading Zorro.
There you go.
So then we fast forward in the movie to Zorro Jr. having to pretend to be a Don, like Jack had said, in this big fancy party where he's trying to find out what what's the Don Raphael. He's trying to figure out his plans and why he's back. What is he going to be doing? And like, how does he plan on doing whatever he's doing? Right. And he's planning on separating California
from Mexico. So that's at the beginning of the movie. The Dons are leaving California because General Santa Anna is coming to conquer California from the Spaniards.
Okay.
And so the big evil plan is, I don't know, it's clever. I guess I'll explain it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please do. So
the basic idea is that Mexico took over California and then kind of left because they got into a really costly war with America. This is around the time of the Alamo, right? Whatever. I'm getting too bogged down in this.
History and old movies. The point is that
the Don, the bad guy,
Raphael.
Don Raphael, before he left California, basically told people like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure there's gold somewhere here. Go look for it." And so the plan is to, they find gold, and so he comes back, and the plan is to take this gold and give it to Mexico to buy California and make it its own country. Mm-hmm. But the trick of it is that since the gold was found in California, it's technically already the property of the Mexican government. So they have to make it look like it was from Spain, mm-hmm. so that it makes some sense to them. And Mexico is so preoccupied with the war with America, they're just like, cool,
sure,
California is its own thing now. So the point is they're using Santa Anna's own money to buy California to be its own thing.
Okay.
That's the evil master plan, which I don't know why that's bad. Like that's always been the thing. Like the way that they got the gold is bad, right? Like they have all the slaves and the children, and they're killing them. Basically. Going to destroy the mine makes sense because like you got to free the people and they're being treated horribly. But like I've never fully understood like why the idea of self-governing California is that bad.
I don't think it's the fact that self-governing California is that bad. It's that these people will be governing it, and they're bad people.
Okay, I can go along with that, right?
Right, because it's Raphael trying to be the leader of it.
Yeah, he's going to be like the new king of California.
And he steals babies and pretends that they're his.
He does steal babies and raise. That's another thing. Like, he raises this guy's daughter as his own because he was in love with the mother, right? Yeah. Like, they talk about that. But, like,
it was weird.
This guy is his mortal enemy. And you're just going to be like, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to kill your daughter. I'm going to raise her. I don't know whether that's like true evil or whether it's just stupid.
He's like pretending that he's living this fantasy that he got to marry
so he's delusional.
This woman. Yeah.
Or is he just, I don't know. There's a word for it. I just can't think of what it is. Sad? Maybe that's the word.
I mean, we're getting close to potential like like old-timey incel business here? Is he an old-timey incel, like murdering people because he didn't get to have sex with this woman?
He's an old-timey incel. That sounds right.
Because he literally chose to make the man who did get to marry and have a child with her, suffer in prison for 20 years just so that he could come back and see how much he suffered, because he suffered not marrying her, and so now you have to suffer, sir.
Yeah, he's Zorro. An incel.
And then he like is coming back and put all these people to work like slave running his gold mine, and now he's gonna like, and he raised this, oh my gosh, he's crazy.
Yeah, he's a gamer, right? He's an incel gamer.
Don't steal somebody's daughter and raise them as your own, or I will think you're a bad person.
That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, maybe that was the lesson all along. Not don't fight in anger. It's don't steal other people's kids and raise them as your own.
It's a lesson we all have to learn someday. All right, so he goes into this party where this master plan is revealed.
Mm-hmm.
He dances with Elena. It's sexy.
Yeah, which it's not sexy yet, but when he's dancing with her, all the Dons get up from the table, which he got invited to their table, which was like hopefully going to be the plan. And older Zorro's only like rule was do not let them leave the table without you, because they're going to definitely be talking about the plan if they get up and leave. And so while he's dancing with Elena, they notice that all of the Dons are going to leave, and so
he starts dancing sexy with Elena so that her dad will come back and
stop,
do anything to get him away from her, which is pretty funny.
But then he like basically calls his daughter, like young Zorro basically calls his daughter a slut and being like, she's the one who started it, sir. Like I don't know how it ended up that way, like making him not be the bad guy, which I'm just saying, I would not fall in love with that man afterward if he was basically saying that I was being sleazy on the dance floor. Okay, because you were there. You could have stopped it. You wanted it. So that was not fun, because he's being mean to her kind of the whole time. Like she's trying to talk politics at the table, and he's like slamming her down to impress the dad, which basically. I understand that there's another point. But I'm just saying that as someone who's not involved in the plan, I would have all my feelings hurt.
You would.
Because she like tries to say something and young Zorro like dismisses it, and then the dad is like, oh, women trying to get involved in politics. Ha ha ha. Like, what? Stop. And everyone is laughing, even young Zorro. Like, even if I was trying to like just play along, like if everyone was laughing, I'm assuming they're not looking at me.
You'd
and
be
I'd like be like like I wasn't trying to do that. But I would be so mad if I was Elena.
Probably with good reason. He's mean to her. He is mean to her.
He is. And we do have to talk quickly about the one creepy scene.
Go ahead.
In the movie.
You go for it.
There's one scene, the whole movie's great, except there's one scene that I did not like. And I liked it for the most part. So Elena and Zorro are like gonna sword fight, okay? They're like in this barn or whatever. And why is she wanting to fight him? Because
he's been causing trouble for everyone and stealing stuff and, generally sowing chaos.
Yeah, and so they get in a sword fight, and she's like really holding her own and stuff, and they start like cutting like holes in each other's clothing and stuff. And then all of a sudden he like pins her, like she can't go anywhere, and you just see him go and then like all her clothes fall off and like everything's blocked. But I was like, we already saw that this hot chick is in the whole movie, okay? People can use their imaginations if they want to see her without her clothes on, okay? And it just seemed like, one, she was not impressed. But they were like, because they were like kissing throughout the sword fight, which was funny to me. But then like when he gets her clothes off, like she was not into that. Like she was upset. And so I was upset too, because it did not seem consensual. And he was like, this is funny, you're naked. And it's like, okay, how about she cuts your pants off then? That didn't happen. He didn't even have a shirt off.
Should have happened.
It was very rude. Like, come on, I'm an equal opportunist, okay?
He is shirtless a lot in this movie, to be fair.
Not consensually.
That's true. That's a good point. You make a good point.
So that's all I'm saying is that scene sucked.
I agree with you. At that point, they go off and save the slaves and have the big ending sword fight.
Mm-hmm.
And Elena finds out who her true father is and turns on the one who raised her, the
But
Don.
only like for like at first though, she just like really didn't know what to believe.
Yeah.
Because she has this really sweet moment with her real father,
Not knowing
who he was, because he's supposedly young Zorro's servant when he's being a fake Don. And so he and Elena have like this sweet talk while they're like combing horses and stuff. And it doesn't, like, I'm so glad, like, it doesn't seem creepy at all. It seems very nurturing and fatherly, but like he's also not really pressing or stepping over any boundaries, I didn't think, during that scene. But he also doesn't try to make it obvious that like he's her father.
No,
which
he's
I
playing
thought
it
was
close to the chest.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting, because you could also play it where like he's like, I'm Don Diego and I'm your father.
Right.
You know, like, and he like really freaks out, and like, but I mean, he's waited 20 years. He can wait a couple more days.
And
you
he
know what I
does.
mean? So,
And it's nice. They take their time. So,
Mhm.
but I mean, what a mind fuck that is, right? When she finds out that like, oh, by the way, like this random servant is your real father, and the guy who raised you killed your mother and then kidnapped you and imprisoned your real father.
One of his people killed the
That's
mother.
right. He wouldn't have purposely killed her because he loved her. But like, I mean, what a turn of events for you to be like, oh, okay.
As ridiculous as all that sounds, though, I think it's way more likely than like the Parent Trap situation.
Don't you disrespect.
I would never
Parent Trap.
disrespect Lindsay Lohan.
Good. Noted.
Right? Isn't it more likely to find out that you are being raised by someone who imprisoned your father and like,
I mean,
killed your mom, basically, then having a secret twin and both parents alive, and they just never mention the fact that you might have a sister that you just don't see ever?
Yeah, I mean,
Isn't that funny?
It is more believable, and it probably happened, right? Because like in today's world, it's really easy to find people, but in the old days, if you kidnapped a baby, that was pretty much it. There weren't phone books, you know. There wasn't.
There's no blood tests.
There's no internet. Like if you show up somewhere across the world and like, this is my baby, what? No, it's not. Like you? No, that baby's gone, and you're never seeing it again. So it probably happened. Like
it definitely
there probably were children who got kidnapped as babies and were just like, cool, this is my life, and never knew that like, hey.
And it seems like she was living a very happy life. She wasn't like, she wasn't even like so much as like put on this pedestal, right? Even by him, where he was like so obsessed with her. He just like literally lived like a normal life with her. Whereas that's kind of shocking to me, because if I were an old-timey incel and I stole a baby from the woman that I loved and wouldn't let her be with her old father, like I'd probably be pretty obsessed with this kid, and like,
no, but he's just like a normal dad.
Yeah,
like,
he honestly like just lets her like go. He's like, I'm here to, you know, run my slave gold mine, so go off, dear.
Other than the slave gold mine,
he's a normal dad.
He's a normal dad.
Normal rich dad.
You know, rich dad, right? He wears jean shorts, and, you know.
No, he wears the polos. It looks like he's always ready for golf.
Yeah, and he just drinks bottled beer a lot. That's his main characteristic.
You're making it sound like a normal dad, not a rich dad. Have you met rich dads? They put their beer in glasses.
Right. Or at least a koozie.
So, yeah, that's exactly what Don Raphael looks like in this movie. Like, don't look up pictures, just take our word for it. He's wearing a polo and khaki shorts.
It's not at all era appropriate, but they just go with it, you know? And then there's that weird sequence where he's just barbecuing for like 5 minutes in the middle of the movie, having a backyard cookout.
Yeah, it
and
was
they just
great.
go back to the sword
Not
fighting.
For the slaves, though. They don't get to eat.
No, they're not invited.
No, they gotta work.
It'd be rude to invite them.
Oh yeah, like they have time in their busy schedule to just go and sit around a barbecue.
No, they have to work. You know?
Oh my gosh, but they still would like the invite, just because you have to work.
You think it's a courtesy invite for your slaves to come to your backyard barbecue?
Yeah, like if I had a friend that was a slave working in a gold mine, I think I'd still invite them even though I knew they couldn't show up. Because if I were a slave,
you didn't have a friend who was a slave? What if you just had slave? I don't know. I don't think you invite your slaves to your barbecue.
You're right.
On a slightly different note here.
Oh, sure.
I think that if we just put in ethical workers' rights stuff into Don Raphael's platform,
yeah,
I'd probably be chill with him as a resident of California. If I lived there,
even if you knew that he stole someone's kid, if that was, if that's the worst thing he did,
fine. Putting aside the stealing the kid, and this, if he just had instead of slaves, just paid workers mining gold, which you're making a lot of money on the gold, you can pay your workers fair wages. And so if he did that, he would probably be the good guy in the movie, because he's the Mexican government doesn't care about you, which it didn't. And he's you guys should govern yourself. And they're yeah, it's kind of an inspiring story of a heist, we're going to pay for this country with its own money. It sounds like he would be the good guy if he didn't steal children and use slaves.
I
think he's the good guy. Zorro might be the bad guy. He's mean to Elena.
Yeah.
He's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
As we said in that one scene.
But I do remember you calling him charming at one point.
Well,
but so are bad guys can be charming.
They can be. I think Don Raphael would be an excellent presidential candidate. He's all about.
He's also not 85 years old. Well, he might be now.
He might be 85 now, but
from the 1800s.
He wasn't then.
What age was this? 1800?
It's 1850, somewhere in there. It's pre-Civil War. California entered the Union, 1869? I don't know why I asked you. Yeah.
Couldn't tell you.
Somewhere around there.
That's why we have you for the history stuff. Hannah and I don't know that stuff.
That's why I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm the new Hannah.
Yeah, if you like this podcast, just keep staying.
I'm not staying.
He's staying.
Yeah, this is too chaotic. You need Hannah back.
We do need Hannah, even though I do a lot of the talking anyway, but Hannah keeps me in check.
Yeah.
So he does get the papers. Zorro, when he breaks in, he finally does what he was there to do,
which is steal
the map to get to the gold mine and figure out where the heck it is.
It's a hidden gold mine, of course, as all good gold mines are. He can't Google Maps it.
So he's got to find the actual map. And he finds it. There's a bunch of fight scenes where he fights this one guy whose name is Love, which I found out literally during this scene, even though he's in the whole movie. He's the one who captured young Zorro's brother, and the brother shot himself in front of him, and then he is throughout the whole thing. He's Don Raphael's right-hand man or whatever.
Definite bad guy here. But lots of sword fights, people with their rivals, and in the end, the bad guys get killed. They're crushed by gold bars, and then the whole mine blows up.
Oh, it was great.
And then Zorro and Elena are walking all of the slaves out of the smoke.
It's like that scene at the end of Miracle where they're walking out right before the big game, and it's really intense, and it's they're all
in a cuddle. Monsters Inc. when the scares are coming to the floor.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah, just like Monsters.
Out of the smoke, except none of them trip, but it's literally. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was thinking of when I watched it.
Monsters Inc.
It's like that. It's pretty much, it's a little bit more intense, but I understood what was happening in Monsters Inc. So this movie still confuses me, but I had a good time watching it. Oh, and then Elena and young Zorro have a baby.
Yes.
That doesn't get stolen yet. I've never seen the second movie.
There are 3. No, the baby doesn't get stolen. The second movie's not worth watching. This one's fun. I really like this one, and then the next one is just garbage. But there are 3 serious time jumps over the course of this movie.
But the last one can't be that long.
The last one, they go from having just met to they have a 6-month-old baby.
It's the 1800s. It probably took them 9 months to have that baby.
9 months to have the baby, and then 9 months. Okay,
and then a couple more months.
6 months, maybe 6 months. That's over a year.
Yeah, the first time jump was 20 years.
Yeah, and the second time jump's a couple weeks. I guess I'm wrong. There are 2 time jumps in the movie, and one of them is way longer than the other.
It's just a blink of the eye. It's very.
And then they have a baby.
Yeah, and the baby is named after young Zorro's brother.
Who shot himself?
I will run through social media real quick. So if you want to email us, you may do that at youtalkingtomepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at youtalkingtome.podcast or follow us on Twitter at youtalkingtome11 because Hannah and I are both number one. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or hit the notification bell, subscribe, like I just said that. Also, rate us 5 stars or positively on all of the podcasting apps. And that's it. Anything you'd like to add? Any final words?
Don't steal other people's children and raise them as your own. I think that's the only thing.
And apparently fighting in anger is fine.
Because it never pays
You only
off.
do it once anyway.
You can do it.
All right. I'm Rachel.
I'm Jack, not Hannah.
And this was the You Talking to Me podcast. Bye.